From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Kristen Amiot. It's Monday, November 11. Anthony Albanese's personal approval ratings have hit a new low, according to new data from Newspoll. The leadership contest between the PM and opposition leader Peter Dutton is the closest it's ever been, as primary support for the coalition lifts to 40% for the first time. You can read analysis of those new numbers by our experts right now at theaustralian.com.au. Jim Chalmers says any isolationist policy agenda enacted by US President-elect Donald Trump wouldn't immediately threaten Australia's economy. But in a speech to the Australian Institute of Public Affairs tonight, the Treasurer says he is remaining cautious of a longer-term tariff war between the United States and China. Christmas cheer could be in short supply this year if a bargaining dispute between Woolworths and the union representing thousands of its warehouse workers goes south. There's a pay rise on their wish list, and they're threatening to walk off the job if the supermarket giant doesn't deliver. That's today's episode. There are just 6 Fridays between now and Christmas Day, or 44 sleeps, or about 2 advent calendars. However you slice it, Christmas Day is close. And when it rolls around, Australians around the country will sit down with their loved ones to celebrate in our unique style. There'll be presents and carols and Christmas morning swims at the beach. Lights and decorations will adorn homes and malls and main streets around the country. There'll be paper hats and Christmas crackers and collective groans at the dad jokes contained inside. There'll be prawns and Christmas hams and fresh, zingy salads. Right? Maybe not. The distribution network relied upon by Woolworths is facing significant disruption in these all-important weeks before Christmas. Its warehouse workers say they're not being paid a fair wage, and they're prepared to walk off the job if the supermarket giant doesn't come to the table with a better offer.
Now, if that was to occur, the union says that would cause massive disruption to the delivery of goods to supermarkets. So there would be delays in the boxes of goods being put on trucks and being sent out to the different supermarkets. So that would potentially lead to shortages, the union says.
Ewan Hannon is the Australian's workplace editor.
Woolworths is escalating a bargaining dispute with the United Workers Union, whose members work at 4 key distribution centres in Victoria and New South Wales. The bargaining has been going on for some time. The unions essentially want above-inflation pay rises over the next 3 years. In some cases, the combined increases would be as high as 36%. The company in response, this is the distribution arm of Woolworths, Primary Connect. They are proposing pay rises of about 3 and 3.5% a year, which would be roughly in line with inflation. There are 2 other key issues in dispute. The distribution centres workers there are covered by a range of different enterprise agreements. The union wants the workers all brought into one national agreement. Now, the third issue is a contentious one in relation to a so-called framework agreement, which is a surveillance operation that works on distribution warehouse workers where their work is monitored. But the union and the workforce argues that this puts the employers under too much pressure and increases the risks of safety accidents and potential injuries. And the union wants that scrapped entirely.
The lead up to Christmas is a critical time of year for Woolies. The supermarket chain needs to dramatically increase supply and make a huge number of specialty items available in order to meet shopper demand over the silly season. But when members of the United Workers Union met last week, they endorsed strike action that could include indefinite stoppages, and that means up to 5 million boxes of Christmas ham, crackers and seafood could be in short supply.
The company says it's put contingency plans in place to start stockpiling and get supplies from other areas. and also divert supplies from other distribution centres. So obviously both sides are saying it'll have a particular impact, but we won't know until the actual form of the action is known. But certainly it would be an uncertain time for the company going into this critical Christmas period, both for consumers and both for the company's operations.
When unions threaten to take this kind of industrial action, they usually need to give 3 days' notice. But given what's at stake here, the notice period has increased to 7 days. And that means workers could walk off the job as soon as Friday. The United Workers Union is putting pressure on Woolworths to bump up its pay offer, but Woolies says its current offer is in line with inflation. Basically, it's a standoff.
So what happens next is the meetings will occur on Tuesday. The workers will flag the next round of action. It will probably be an escalation of the action. Now, if Woolworths stands firm and doesn't lift its offer, that's going to increase the likelihood of action. But if the company does come back with a higher offer, which probably comes some way in between what the union is actually seeking as a headline rate and what the company is offering, there could be progress. So the union says it wants definitive above inflation increases given the cost of living pressures which are being faced by the workers. So, as you say, it's a classic standoff. There's a lot of dramatic talk, and we'll see how it plays out in the days and weeks ahead.
Coming up, why Woolies says things aren't exactly looking up in 2025. It's been a tough year for Woolworths. The supermarket chain is facing a court case brought by the consumer watchdog, which says it misled customers on price drops and discounts.
The supermarkets are now scrambling to try and gain back the trust of customers. Now, if the ACCC's allegations are true, it is without question misleading and manipulative behaviour, especially during a cost of living crisis.
Woolworths' former chief executive Brad Banducci exited the business in September after a trainwreck TV interview earlier in the year.
I mean, he is retired, but I shouldn't have said that, Angus. Are we going to leave it in there if we are?
Well, I mean, if we're on the record. You said it. I mean, you know, let's move on. But yeah. Yeah,
no, I think I'm done, guys. I do this with good intent. I don't do this with bad intent. No.
You're walking out, really?
No. Can we just talk through Brad for a second?
New boss Amanda Bardwell had only been in the job for 7 weeks when, at the end of October, the nation's largest retailer suffered a shock profit downgrade. That's because shoppers are tightening their purse strings and opting for heavily discounted groceries amid an ongoing cost of living crisis.
Woolworths shares got hammered today after the supermarket chain released a surprise profit warning. Woolworths said customers were trading down and buying cheaper items, but it flagged weaker sales growth in the second quarter.
Announcing those results, Bardwell wasn't exactly projecting an air of optimism about the year ahead.
Amanda Bardwell said, "We expect the environment for fiscal 2025 to remain challenging. We will also continue to engage in good faith with the government and regulatory inquiries and investigations."
Woolworths' biggest competitor, Coles, has an existing agreement with distributors to ensure it's smooth sailing into Christmas. And Ewan says it could actually put Coles in the more desirable commercial position in the lead up to the festive season. Surely a fight with its workers is the last thing Woolworths needs right now.
There's obviously a heightened appetite for industrial action amongst workers where the workforces are unionised. There's a push on, particularly from the United Workers Union and other similar unions, for cost of living increases to stay above inflation. They say companies like Woolworths can afford them. And certainly the unions are trying to capitalise on that bad publicity that Woolworths has suffered in recent times to carry the public argument with them, to try to exploit this idea that Woolworths might be on the nose with customers to a degree. And so hoping that the public could be sympathetic to their plight and give them the sort of the momentum to take this industrial action. Although you've got to say any industrial action which affects such a big employer in the lead up to Christmas is not going to be popular with the general community.
Ewan Hannon is the Australian's workplace editor. You can read that exclusive story, as well as all the nation's best news, sport and politics, right now at theaustralian.com.au.